get a drill.
Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
And welcome to FramersView. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Hey, have you had enough yet? I mean, the Democrats, I think, should officially change their name. I'm sure of it. They need to change their name. Their new name party will be the Democrat Hypocrite Party. Hypocrisy is their thing. Man, I tell you what, this last 2 days, you know, here we are Wednesday, and the wheels are falling off. There's scraping going on the road. The car's uncontrolled, and guess who's in it? The Democrat Party. And please don't call it the Democratic Party. It's not democratic. But guess who's in the car? Graham Plattner. And there'd be big problems, man. And he doesn't want to walk away, and the party wants him out, and it's crazy. It really is. So we're gonna talk a bunch about that. Man, I've said it before. I'm cautious about saying it, but I think that we have a chance of winning November 3rd. On the Republican side. The Democrats have managed to mess things up so bad that I'm not sure they can recover from this. But we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about haters and their predictions always being wrong. Trump winning. You wouldn't know this if you watched anything other than a few of the conservative side programs, because the major networks and CNN and MS Now does not want you to know. They don't want you to know that there is success going on. So we'll see what happens with that. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, he's given credit to Trump, which is interesting. But there's a reason for that. We'll get into that. Newsom is desperate, and so he's taking it up another level. We'll look at a video and analyze that. It'll be interesting. And we have Martians. I'm really saying this. We have Martians in the news today. Martians. Not just Democrats. Not just the Democrat Hypocrite Party. Hypocrite Party. No, not just them. Martians. We'll talk about that. And then the SAVE Act. Before I start all of this, you know, I had a couple of comments that came to me that said, you know, you'll never say anything bad about Republicans. You just cover it up like every other news source. You don't tell. Well, yeah, I do. I do, because I say it when it's just stupid, like the Democrats. And this situation that we have going on in the Senate right now, with supposedly John Thune being the Senate leader, and us not taking care of the SAVE Act, he's letting this thing just float on by to a point where it won't be able to be put into place for the 26th election. The voter ID, it's the SAVE Act. Voter ID. Do you understand that? This is important. It's important for people to understand that what we're trying to accomplish is we're just trying to get people that are actually citizens to be the only ones that vote. Why would anybody be against that unless you have a different plan and a different operation going on that would be destroyed if you did that? And that's really what we're talking about here. There's no way to get around the fact that you couldn't possibly be against the SAVE Act. And don't give me but people can't get legal ID. Yeah, you can. It's called a driver's license. And the states that have their craziness with driver's license, you have to register. And if you aren't registered with a social security number, a birth certificate, a number of other items, you shouldn't be able to register, which means you shouldn't be able to vote. And then when you come in, even with your illegal driver's license, saying that I don't even know what it says. It says that you've got a driver's license, but you're not supposed to get a driver's license if you're not an American. You'll be driving on your foreign driver's license. If you go on a trip and you go to Europe or you go to Australia or wherever you go, you don't go and get your driver's license from that country. You have your driver's license. You're on a visit. You have your passport, which you can't get a passport without having proof of ID. And then they say, well, the blacks and the poor, they can't get a license. Yeah, you can. Statistics show that the biggest bunch of drinkers are the poor. Well, you have to have ID to vote to buy booze. Have you ever been on an airplane? You got to have ID. This is what I'm talking about. It's constant. It's all the time. And when will it stop? Where will it end? Who knows? But in the meantime, wow, Graham Plattner. So let's talk about, I didn't serve. I was back in the Vietnam days. There's some things that happened that we won't get into. It doesn't have anything to do with legal. But I didn't end up going into the service. But Vietnam was basically a 17-year war. But we never called it a war. It was a police action. Just like Korea was not a war. It was never declared a war. World War II, World War I, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, which kind of there wasn't the mechanisms when that happened. But the war or the Vietnam event and the people that went there and served. And I want to talk about this up front. Graham Plattner is a troubled, dangerous, crazy man. And there are people that come back from the war that's the way they are. Or they get in and they're already crazy and dangerous. There's that group. But you can't put everybody in the same bag. The same bag of crazies that come back from the military service, that served in Desert Storm and all the storms that followed since George Bush sent the guys in after the Twin Towers, or the Vietnam people. You can't put everybody in the same bag. But Plattner's another story. And the Dems, as I said, the hypocrites, the Democrat Hypocrite Party have really got a problem. I mean, a bigger problem than I even thought it could become. And it's because something finally happened. And what happened was they had a Republican woman that claimed that she had been abused by Graham Plattner. The Dems are never going to do anything about that. But when they finally got all the things that happened, starting with the tattoo and going on and on and on, and all the stuff that's been happening, and all the women that have been claiming what had gone on, which the Democrat Party is the Me Too group. They're the ones that said, you have to believe the woman. The woman's telling the truth, always. But we're not worried about that now, are we? So here we are. We've got a guy that we know is troubled. And finally, they say, a Democrat woman stated that she's been raped by Graham Plattner. Well, okay, let's say that's the case. Let's say that that's what's going to put Graham Plattner out of running. But I don't think that's what it is. Much like when we had Kamala Harris get into office, and of course she claimed, she made the big claim, hey, you know, I couldn't win the election because I didn't have enough time. Well, we now know that what really killed her possibilities of winning was her being in front of the camera too much, that she was an idiot, that she was, what do they call it? Word salad. She wasn't smart, isn't smart, won't ever be smart. Made her way up through a different channel of promotion. That's what we'll call it. I'll leave it at that. But Graham Plattner, this guy now has a Democrat woman that said she's been raped. But here's the problem. Step by step, day by day, the stuff that comes out causes his ranking with even the Democrats to drop and drop and drop. And as these things happen, and you're always going to have the October surprise and all of those kind of things. Politics is dirty, dirty, mob-like operations. Ask Hillary. But the point is that really you're always going to get hit by somebody on something, whether it's true or not. Well, what's really happening is they're letting this all start to happen because they've realized Susan Collins is going to win. So now they step back from their cameras, get away from the get away, and they have to make a plan. How are we going to cover up the fact that nobody wants to vote for Graham Plattner? Well, it's going to be the Republicans' fault that they kept bringing out stuff that wasn't true. They weren't telling the truth. And that's why Susan Collins won, because of all the bad press. And most of it isn't even proven. There haven't been trials. It's just hearsay. That's the same thing that we saw with Swalwell. And we'll talk about that and Plattner in a few minutes. But that's what they're going to do. They have to, because they know Susan Collins is going to win, just like she has over the period of time, over these decades that she keeps winning. But Plattner is a real problem. So the question is, this came from Unleashed Prosperity. Who shot Graham Plattner? Just a few weeks ago, Graham Plattner became an overnight sensation with leftist Democrats and was overwhelmingly nominated to be their candidate for the Senate in Maine. It was an overnight love affair. Senator Ruben Gallegos gushed, "This guy is an authentic man. He's going to win this election." Then the Nazi tattoo type baggage kept piling up. And Dems' chances of beating Susan Collins were trending below 50%. Uh-oh. After many weeks of Senate Democrats sweeping one after another Plattner scandal under the rug, that's from Wall Street Journal, the bloom came off the rose. Uh-oh. This is what we're talking about. They gushed over him. They knew. I've got a video that tells you that they knew. But they've said all along, this is the guy. He's the authentic man. I don't know how they came up with this idea of what makes that perfect candidate for the Democrats. Because they've got the Me Too and they've got the Pride, the multicolor group, the Pride group, and all of this, we can't say this, we can't say that, and our pronouns. And now we want to bring in the big, grufty mountain man, the oyster man, the guy that's gonna make America smell like oysters again. And then it gets too ugly. And Gallegos and other people that have lauded him are now walking away. Bernie Sanders, he is bound and determined to stop this, to not let him run any further. We've got to replace him. So, do they turn around and say, well, let's see, we'll have a little convention and we'll determine who's going to be the candidate. And others are saying, no, it's going to be this person or that person, which was the mistake that the Democrats did when they had to put Kamala Harris in there. And Joe Biden said, she's my replacement. They don't want to do that. So common sense is getting pushed back and aside. But this all comes from one simple thing. You will recall all of the things, and we can go to people in the Republican Party. Matt Gaetz is a perfect example. I didn't do anything. All of a sudden, he's gone. He admitted he did. The truth came out. Then Swalwell and his little affair with the Chinese operative, the women that he raped and abused. And let's look at that for a second, and we'll continue this conversation.
That you see and hear from me directly.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false.
Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false.
I'm going to spend time with my family and friends, and I appreciate those who have reached out to me to show support.
We are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love.
Yeah. Please trust me. But I'm going to step back and I'm going to contemplate this. And while I'm contemplating it, I'm going to tell the Democrat committee in Maine, hey, no, I'm not dropping out because I'm contemplating. And I think it's Saturday or Sunday, he has to drop out or he's in. And then by the end of this month, they have to have a new candidate if he does drop out. But he may push it back, and say, no, I'm going to run. Because in his deep, sick little mind, he may actually believe, think about this, with all that he's said, all that he's done up to this point, what are the chances that this guy now thinks that if he can get past that last date, they can say, well, he's on the ballot. We've got to support him. He thinks that'll happen. And that everybody will forget and they'll still vote for him and keep Susan Collins out. That's the way these people think. I've worked in political campaigns, a campaign, not multiple ones. One campaign over a number of years of re-elections. And when you see, and every campaign, by the way, every campaign has their ugly times. something comes out, things you're going to never hear about, that they go, oh, what? Who knew about that? What's that? Hey, did you do this? Did you do that? No, I didn't. The candidate's saying that. And then people start talking how we're going to cover this up. On every party, you see that, because the zealots on the inside that are trying to get this person elected become so engaged, so deeply engaged, and I got to get this guy or woman elected. And I can say I helped them win. And they lose sight of truth and honesty. Well, that's the way politics is. I don't care who it is. That's the way it is. So now Plattner, I guarantee you, is thinking, if I just wait and I contemplate, because they can't replace him without him dropping out. If I just put this off long enough, I'm the candidate. Now, there are people like the big boys in the Democrat Party, and of course Hillary, who might make it clear to him that, his brakes may not work after his next stop at the grocery store. Thank you, Hillary. But they may have to cut him out, or they may threaten him, or they may have to put enough pressure on him that he has no choice. They may do that because they may think, they being the Democratic committee in Maine, may think they can put somebody up there that in a matter, and we're in July, August, September, October, basically you have 3 months. November 3rd, it's over. Well, in some states. And so they don't have much time. So they have to get somebody in there. Remember, well, let's hearken back. This is when Joe Biden stepped out of the Democrat election for president to rerun and put Kamala in there. And she said, I didn't have enough time. She may not have, but she was so useless as a candidate, it didn't matter. Plattner, while he isn't slick, has a aura about him. So did Jim Jones. Don't buy this stuff. It's not real. So he may be thinking he'll hang in there and he'll still beat Susan Collins. The Democrat committee in Maine may be thinking we got to figure out how to get him out of here. Call in the cavalry. We got to stop him. And they think they could bring somebody else in to beat Susan Collins. But wouldn't the Maine public, those people that go in there and vote, wouldn't they be saying, what the hell is going on with my party? Now, they may not vote for Susan Collins, but they may not vote. And so if they don't vote, and the Republican is charged up enough to go out and vote for Susan Collins, which I'm not crazy about her, but she is a Republican, and she has many times come around and voted the right way. And in the issues where it's not a big deal, she usually votes for Trump. But when it puts her in the camera view and gets her in front of a microphone, and when she's close to an election, because Maine is way, way more liberal than I even thought they were. I knew it was liberal, of course, because it's on the East Coast. But I didn't think it was quite as liberal as it is. But that's the issues right now. That's what these people are saying and talking about. And what will happen? Who knows? How did he get here? How did Graham Plattner even get this far along where he got elected as the candidate in the primaries by like 40 points? He got a 70% of the vote on the Democrat primary. How did that happen? Were the other candidates that bad? Or did they want a real man? And that says what they think. Was nobody else that says what he thought without having a tattoo and jacking in the bathroom and raping women? There's nobody else? Really? So a couple of weeks before this whole thing blew up, a true feminist, Kara Swisher, is talking about Graham Plattner and a guy that's on her show. Watch this, and this will tell you all you need to know about the Democrats. Watch this.
I personally, I'm going to just very quickly say, I think voters don't care about this. I don't, and I thought his wife handled it well. I have others. I had an argument with Amanda this weekend. She doesn't like the Nazi tattoo. She doesn't like this. I feel as if the husband and wife are working it out. It reminded me a little when Hillary Clinton did Should I Stand by My Man, when he had those Jennifer Flowers things. It reminds me a little bit of that. Turned out to be a pretty good president. I don't get bothered by it as much. None of it. I think he's, as Amanda Littman correctly said, he's someone who had a drinking problem as a Marine, probably got that tattoo, has some mental health challenges, which he's trying to overcome, marriage problems, which his wife is insisting they're going to counselors and overcoming.
Every election is a choice, not a marriage proposal. We're not hiring a priest. We're hiring a...
Which you would think would be a somewhat priest representing your state. And we continue. No, he doesn't get a whole pass. He said it, actually said it right in that video, that Graham Plattner representing women and women's rights. This is the guy that raped women, abused women, beat up his wife, and his wife's protecting him, maybe because she's afraid he'll kill her. What the hell was he talking about? And how do these people say this stuff with a straight face? How does that continue all the time? The hypocrites in this party, I've got another example of this. And this is a person in Maine that supposedly knows what the hell she's talking about. Watch this and take a deep breath as you watch it.
Why did you not endorse Graham Plattner even after he won the nomination?
Well, just to be clear, I don't endorse in Democratic primaries. Too many of my friends are in Democratic primaries. And I did campaign alongside him once the governor dropped out of the race. So I don't want to be disingenuous about that. I believe we've got a big tent party and we should all work together. And
the big tent party, I got to interrupt this idea of big tent party. That's their way of saying everybody gets in. You know, we don't judge. Maybe you should. Are they really this stupid? I mean, all you have to do is watch him. I mean, I've watched his speeches, but there's too much in the background. you hear people talk about, somebody says you should run for office, and that person will go, yeah, I don't want my background looked at. We all have backgrounds. We've all done things, in our school days, when we were young, things we probably shouldn't have done. But you probably haven't raped somebody. You probably haven't beaten up your wife in the past. You probably haven't, been a total alcoholic. And did you notice there's really no people from the military that are coming out for him? Or have they? And they haven't. It's clear. And what she says, it's so disingenuous. It's so cover up-ish. They have no choice. Now they got to get rid of him. But why didn't these people know about this? Why in the world? If you vet somebody, look, if you've ever been a manager, a business owner, somebody that hires people or work in an employment office in a company, and the employees have to look at these people that they're going to hire, and it's pretty easy. Type in something like Facebook, Twitter, now X. Take a look at the crazy stuff. What's the one? I think it's called Kick. That he was involved with. They know is a predator website. You look at those things. You put in that person's name. Do they pop up? There's ways to check about people. And, if you're hiring somebody to sweep the floors, you're not going to spend as much time as you are with somebody that's working with other people, that's selling things to other people, in a sales department. You want to make sure this person isn't a bad story. So they didn't know? Did they do any vetting? I showed you a few weeks ago the people that vetted Plattner, and they kind of chuckled about it. They didn't vet him. Somebody knew somebody that knew somebody. His mom has a bunch of money. Everybody knows who he is. Let's put him in there. Somebody's got to beat Susan Collins. And nobody knew. Nobody knew, or did they?
Democrats had warnings from the very beginning.
Find out.
Lindsay's not the only person that knew about this tattoo. There were people within the campaign that understood. His political director, Genevieve McDonald, resigned in about October, I believe, when she figured out that this was all going on.
And Democrats have completely attacked her.
Attacked her completely unfairly for something that she's basically being vindicated right now, right? She warned them that this was going to blow up and be a bigger deal, and it has. But Democrats right now who finally have said this is the final straw. Well, you've had warnings since October, and I don't think there's an excuse for that.
Not going to get it.
Democrats had warnings.
This was a woman at
Lindsay's
CNN
not the only person
that was
that knew
talking
about this tattoo. There were people within
this is
the campaign
important to
that
understand.
His political director,
She
Genevieve
said
McDonald,
everybody knew.
Resigned in about October, I believe, when she figured out that this was all going on.
And Democrats have completely attacked her.
Attacked her completely
How is it that
for something
everybody
that
knew?
she's basically being vindicated right now, right?
All of
Warned
this
them that this was going
has
to blow
occurred.
up and be a bigger deal, and it has. But Democrats right now who finally have said
I don't get it.
This is the final straw. Well, you've had warnings since
get it at
October,
all.
and I don't think there's an excuse for that.
What'll happen next? Well, we'll find out. So now they're in a spot. They're saying to each other, what are we going to do with this? We first of all, we knew this was going to happen. We hoped it would slide through. We hoped that nobody would pay attention. We hoped that everybody would kind of blow it off. And then it didn't happen. They didn't blow it off. Trouble continued. Everybody was going, how did they find that out? Well, we can't let that out. Now they got to get rid of him. And how are they going to do that? Well, the Democrat committee in Maine is making their announcement. Watch this.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to provide you all an update on the U.S. Senate race here in Maine. As you know, the Maine Democratic Party has been working around the clock to develop a process to replace our U.S. Senate nominee that is open, inclusive, transparent, and fair. The integrity of this process is just as important as the outcome, and we are committed to ensuring that Democrats across our state can have confidence in both. Unfortunately, Graham Plattner's team has repeatedly reached out to us in an attempt to put their thumb on the scale of what this process looks like. We have repeatedly reiterated to Graham Plattner's team that they have no role in determining our next Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate, nor in determining what this process looks like. We have also reiterated that Graham Plattner must drop out of this race so that Democrats in Maine can focus on defeating Susan Collins this November. We look forward to making this process public as soon as Graham Plattner formally withdraws from this race.
Democrats had warnings from the very beginning. Lindsay's not the only person that knew about this tattoo. There were people within the campaign that understood. His political director, Genevieve McDonald, resigned in about October, I believe, when she figured out that this was all going on.
And Democrats have completely attacked her.
Attacked her completely unfairly for something that she's basically being vindicated right now, right?
Yeah.
She warned them that this was going to blow up and be a bigger deal, and it has. But Democrats right now who finally have said this is the final straw, well, you've had warnings since October, and I don't think there's an excuse for that.
Think about that. We finally got that video to work. Since October. Let me check the calendar. Let's see. July, that's 7. July is the 7th month. October, back in October, that's the 10th month. So that's 2 months in 2025. So we got that plus 7. That would be 9 months. And now they're having the ugly baby. They don't know what they're going to do with this. And as she said, he's refusing to drop out, and he has no word in who's going to, or influence on who's going to be the next candidate. And they insist that they have that, they being the Plattner campaign. And he may just say, yeah, too bad. Screw you. I'm running. I won the primary. I'm going through with this. I don't care what you think. Wouldn't you love to be sitting there? That, by the way, the blonde woman that was reporting on how this is going to work, she's the executive director of the Democrat Party in Maine. You could tell that she was having trouble just taking a breath. Can you imagine the mess that's going on there right now? I mean, think about it. The complete craziness that's going on right now has to be beyond anything we could imagine. And I'd like to feel sorry for them, but there's nothing to feel sorry about. They knew. We just saw the video. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. It's kind of like if you go back decades ago in TV or movies, the actors that everybody knew they were gay, but it was all covered up back then because we can't let that happen. And it was covered up, and everybody knew within the industry. And today we've got these campaigns going on where everybody knows. We've heard from other people that they all knew about Swalwell, that he was a scumbag. But nobody said anything because he got into office. He voted the way he was supposed to. He did his job. He voted even if he didn't want to, the way they wanted him to. He was the lightning rod when they were going after Trump. And he claimed, I've got evidence. I've got evidence. all these people that had evidence that never came out with it. Oh, wait till you see this. You're never going to see it because they didn't have it. And in this case, they've got the evidence, but you're not going to see it. I'll bet you that there's a ton of other evidence that they have out there that's never going to come out. Unless over today's Wednesday, you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In 4 days, they may dig up more stuff, get it out there to the press and try to force him out of it. But if he wants to, he will be the candidate in November on the 3rd. That Tuesday, he'll be running against Susan Collins. And there's a little piece of me that really hopes that happens. They deserve it. They deserve it. It's, what did I say? The Democrats need to say that their party name is the Democrat Hypocrite Party, because they dig themselves a hole so deep, so often, so unbelievably often. They say a lie, they push the lie with the press and with all the people that's in the politics, the Chuck Schumers and Hakeem Jeffries of the world, all of the other little squirrels and mites that go out in front of a camera and support whatever they're saying because they're all told what to say each morning. And then it blows up. And then what do? They're hypocrites. So they keep trying to cover up. And then all of a sudden it goes silent. Isn't that interesting? Hoping you will forget it. Those of you that watch the show live, you're hearing me say it live. If you watch this show afterwards and you hear me say this, understand that these people will do these things and always cover up just to get elected. And I understand if you don't get elected, you don't have power. But when you have somebody as bad as this, that's somebody that has actually been accused of, that hasn't gone to trial, of rape, and now they're believing that, but they still can't get rid of him. What a mess. What an unbelievable mess. So, again, Democrats, you know, when I think of the economists that predicted, and this is about predictions, they predicted that the economy was going to go in the trash. They said it in 2015 before Trump went into office. It's over. We're all going to die. The economy is over. Oh my God, we're going to just, everybody's going to be, there won't be any food. There won't be anything. And they were wrong. And then he gets in 25. And guess what? They said it again. And it's not turning out to be true. We've got oil at $70, somewhere around there right now. Gas prices have gone down. Groceries are getting less expensive. They're still high, but there's some mitigating circumstances there. Some things you can't fix right away. And I've talked about with Carter and what he did, the stupidity of his actions. Reagan was in his campaign for his second term before things really started to turn around. That would be towards the end of 28 in Trump's situation. But things happen faster with Trump. So I've got a couple of videos, things to show you about Trump winning, and people can't have that happen. And of course, one of Trump's buddies is Elon Musk, was and is. Well, he takes over Twitter. And then these people, a montage of people have said, it's over. Twitter will go down in the toilet. Here we go.
Elon Musk has managed to bring Twitter to the brink of collapse in just 3 weeks.
This is the end, or was the end, of Twitter.
Will this one come back from destroying Twitter, burning it to the ground?
Elon Musk burning the business to the ground.
The absolute destruction of the platform formerly known as Twitter, thanks to his decisions.
Twitter is really in an ever-quickening death spiral. They're going to have a hard time just keeping the lights on over at Twitter, given this mass exodus.
Advertisers, but also users heading for the exits.
It's a shithole, right? Elon fucked that shit up. There's better engagement on Threads.
He is not a media platform owner. He's never done this. He doesn't know what he's doing. It has to be just a question of time before, whether it's Mastodon or some other site that actually operates in a more grown-up, responsible way, takes over all of the Twitter users. I mean, we will go there.
Elon Musk can, this could be all fun and games for him. At the end of the way, he's going to drive this business into the ground. There will be nothing left. All advertisers are gone. You can't have a major brand in this country and be putting your ads on platforms like this that are unsafe for children, that are spreading misinformation about COVID, that's actually killing people. He's a dangerous man. I've said it many times on the show.
Hate, 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 hate. So, guess who uses Twitter? Now X. Everybody. Truth Social and X have really hurt Facebook. It's much more instant. It's much more easy to use. And all of a sudden, all those people, of course, aren't going to say anything anymore. But then they had this, just watch the person, this woman, Melissa Engel, who was a person that got fired by Elon Musk at Twitter before he turned it into X. Watch this.
That email from Musk prompted hundreds of employees to step down, according to the New York Times, citing two people with knowledge of the situation. Melissa Engel worked as a senior data scientist at Twitter. She says she was fired just days before Musk delivered his latest ultimatum, but has coworkers who resigned yesterday. She believes Twitter's future is hanging in the balance.
It just seems that with current staff levels, it cannot, and that's just flat out cannot be safe.
Okay, first of all, Melissa might have been Mitchell before, but it ain't Melissa. You may identify that way, but it's still that XYXX thing. But you can't do it. He got rid of too much staffing. They'll never make it. They can't do it. It's not possible. It's over. Anybody that's been in I went into a company to do a turnaround. They had 439 employees and a big operation. But I looked at all these people and I thought to myself, you know what? We don't need all these people. And I didn't just start firing people. First thing I did is I started interviewing employees. And I always start at the bottom. That guy that's sweeping the floors. The guy that's washing the cars, the guy that, whatever. I talk to them first, and then I talk to their managers, and then I talk to the managers of those managers, and then I get up to the general manager. And the stories don't ever match up, and people have to go. We ended up taking it down to 318. And we did more business. We sold more product. We had happier people working there. We had less problems, less drama, less ugliness. There were employees there that literally didn't know who their boss was. They didn't really get an assignment any day. That's what happens. So then you have to have a winner, and that's Trump, a winner. And this story is really important to know. This is about winning. And everybody says, oh, tariffs, terrible tariffs. Stephen Moore at Unleashed Prosperity, who I really like him and his website and his business, and Art Laffer and all those guys. Stephen Moore hates tariffs, but he's had to admit tariffs are working. This is an example of this. And this is about Toyota getting out of Mexico and building a plant in the United States, in Texas. Take a look at this.
Toyota is making a Texas-sized investment in the Lone Star State. The Japanese automaker is spending $3.6 billion on its plant in San Antonio. It's to add another assembly line to build Tacoma trucks at the location. Those trucks are currently built in Mexico. Toyota says the expansion will add 2,000 jobs and will also bring the company's investment in Texas to $8.3 billion since 2003. Toyota currently builds Tundra trucks and Sequoia SUVs at the plant. President Trump responded on Truth Social, writing, Toyota is moving from Mexico to the United States, a really big deal. Tariffs at work.
Yes, tariffs that work. So he puts a tariff on them. They make a move. He cuts the tariffs. That'll help pay for that $3.6 billion that they're spending. 2,000 employees will work at that plant, and thousands will work while they build that facility. It's standard business. If you've never run a business, if you've never been involved in it, if you're anything past flipping hamburgers, you should understand this. The more success means more people have jobs. The more people that have jobs, the more successful they make that company, the more money the employees will make. And employees in the car business, for the Toyotas and the Hondas and the Chevrolets, the General Motors, and Ford, they make a lot of money. And most of those people are not college graduates. They didn't have massive skills. They came in and they worked their way in to those plants, and they have an opportunity. Hard to argue that, I'd say, wouldn't you? Well, that's a winner. And here's another winner, NATO. NATO, who we haven't been real happy with, is stepping up to the plate. Watch this. We'll talk about it.
Allies are also launching a new multinational project focused on the Airbus A400M. This is world-class strategic airlift capability. The A330 MRTT and the A440-400 will provide the alliance with two highly capable multinational fleets.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Winner. So NATO is going to, NATO is not a group that goes and fights war. They're supporters. They do the backup stuff, but they weren't doing anything. And now they are. Once again, it's about winning. It's about making people do what they're supposed to. NATO is stepping up to the plate. Now you've got so many other groups, states, countries that are stepping up to the plate. And it's because of Trump, a winner. So Trump's historic one big, beautiful bill. He avoided a $4 trillion tax hike on Americans. 97% of tax filers claimed at least one tax cut. Higher average tax refund above $3,700. He did the creation of the Trump accounts. Got a story about that. With 5.5 million opening accounts since June of 26. Just since June of 26, 5.5 million people investing. Over 36.5 million tax filers claimed no tax on tips or no tax on overtime, and so much more. So when you don't want to admit that he's successful, that he's a winner, I really don't know how to help you. Trump's a winner. He has been and always will be, because guess what? He was successful in New York. It ain't easy. He built some of the biggest skyscrapers, none of which are falling down right now, like the one that was the Pfizer building that looks like it could collapse, although they're claiming it won't. He's winning. So with the unstoppable winning, every once in a while somebody has to actually give credit. And I talked about that the Trump funding for the kids. Well, guess who gave credit to that? The guy that gave credit for that is Wes Moore. Wes Moore is the governor of Maryland. Not a fan of Trump by any stretch of the imagination. But he did have to say this. Look at this.
I will give this administration credit for this. is that we've had Democratic presidents and Republican presidents who have not been able to get this done, and it actually got done. So this is actually a smart policy. I hate the fact that he called it Trump accounts.
Yeah, he hates that because nothing can say Trump on it. But guess what? If you ever wanted to know, Wes Moore is going to be one of the candidates to become the nominee for the Democratic Party to be able to become president of the United States. The Democrat Party is going to have him. You can almost promise yourself. That's his first step. I'm going to go out there and say that was a good idea. And somewhere along the line, he'll say it was either his idea or that's what the Democrats were going to do. Trump got it done, but that was the plan. We just didn't have control of the House and the Senate. That's what these people do. That's what he does, and he's going to run for office. I would put 80% chance on that because he's out there. That's his first campaign run, real one. So now you've got Wes Moore, which is a problem for Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom, of course, is a white supremacist because he's white. And, Sonny Hostin will tell you that all whites are supremacists, especially if you have a flag. I fly my flag every day. And I am not a supremacist. Sonny. But Newsom's got a problem with him running. But he also has a problem with any chance that the SAVE Act will get through, because the SAVE Act is going to be a problem. Watch what Newsom is doing now.
Let me speak directly to anyone considering helping President Trump interfere with our election or our count. If you violate California's laws, if you interfere with our voters, tamper with our ballots, or meddle in our election, you will be prosecuted. Doesn't matter who gave the order. That's why I'm moving forward with new legislation that would make it a felony to seize ballots before the vote has been certified by state and county.
Okay, stopping it for a second for a reason. I stopped. He looks like somebody's going to shoot him there. Until it's certified. Once it's certified, it doesn't matter. So him saying it'll be a felony if they call for the ballots before it's certified. Watch more. Yeah, he does. But you don't believe, I don't know you. We've never talked. But I don't believe that you believe that Trump is that way. But you, Newsom, are, because you're scared to death that if only legal voters can vote, you got a problem. And you got another problem, because there may be Martians that'll come in and get jobs in California and across the country.
To start by offering a thought experiment for a question, which is simply, does the world need aliens from Mars to fill jobs on this planet? I think we can agree the answer is no. We're obviously doing okay without Martians. And the reason I start there is to note that, of course, any economy could always say it could see benefits from additional workers, but no economy needs workers from elsewhere.
Yeah. I'm almost speechless. They actually brought that up in a conference. This guy you just saw was one of the advisors to Mitt Romney. Martians, to even say that out loud is ridiculous. Final point before I go. This SAVE Act is a big deal. We have to get this election taken care of. We have to make it so that legal voters vote only. If we lose as Republicans and we have actual legal ID voting, you feel a lot better about it. You won't wonder. But there's a guy out there that's going to come back from almost the grave, and he is going to vote against the SAVE Act. We've got a video of him coming out to get his vote in. Yeah, Mitch will take care of it. He's our boy. He will take care of not letting that SAVE Act get approved. I thought that was just too good. Nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows what happened to him. Some people are saying that he's brain dead and they're just trying to keep it quiet to get through this term, and then he'll be, gone. Nobody will care. I'm not sure anybody cares now. I don't wish bad on him. I just thought I'd throw that in at the end. Hey, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate every time people come in and watch the show. You can find me every day, 1:00 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. And I'm here to give you the information, the news, and the videos you haven't seen or won't see anywhere else. Until tomorrow, have a good one and rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.